I started in the business, there was no such thing as social media. There was no such thing as experience didn't work out, because I found my true calling and I found what I truly love to do. Another thing that comes to mind about rejection or failure, right? Everybody has failed, and that's okay. And I can look back now and look at that experience and say there was a lesson to be learned there.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Hanson Career Connect. I'm your host Hardeep, VP of Enrolment and Marketing at Hanson College. And I'm thrilled for you to join us for this exciting and educational episode on building relationships, strong network, and your own brand. Navigating a successful career can be challenging, but it's possible with the right knowledge and most importantly with the right connections. And one of the keys to the successful career and a success in any field is understanding the power of networking, relationships building, and the personal branding. To help us explore this topic, we're happy to have a very special guest with us, Frank Casera. Frank Casera is a seasonal creative director with experience at top advertising agencies and also running his own business. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you, Andy.
We're excited to have you join us for Hanson Career Connect episodes. And before we start with questions and before we dig deep, could you share your journey with us? Like, could you give us a little bit of insights? How was the process? What did you go through from moving from Northern Ontario to Toronto?
Yeah, well, thank you, Hardeep, and thank you for allowing me to speak here today. It is an honor to address the audience out there and young students, and hopefully expand my experience of my journey. And I just want to reinforce that it's my journey, and every journey is different, obviously. And I hope that through this conversation that you could find some insights and some things that would benefit you in your own journey. If I describe it in one word, in the early days, or two words, it would be terrifying, and but also very exciting at the same time. And those two words are kind of contradictory, but together they kind of form the foundation of the steps that I took to where I am today. I'm very grateful that I am still working in the field of study that was my passion. And if you love what you do, you haven't worked a day in your life. And that's not my quote. That was somebody a lot more intelligent than I was that said that. But that resonates with me because it's so true. My father always told me that. He says, Frank, always love what you do. And my dad was a blue collar worker, but he loved it. He loved doing that, and it showed because he was successful in his own right. So find the things that you're passionate about and pursue them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And your story relates to many of our students as well, because many of our students move from different country to Canada to pursue their goals and pursue their dreams as well. So what steps did you take to adjust to this new, bigger city and new people, and what advice you will give to students who are stepping out of their comfort zone and to grab these new opportunities?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. It's easy to be hard on yourself, and it's easy to be hard on the things that are around you when you have anxiety, especially moving to a new country, or in my case, moving to a city that was like moving to a new country. I moved from a small Ontario town called Sudbury, the outskirts of Sudbury, and it was certainly a culture shock when I did decide to move here in 1988, September actually, around this time of year, where I worked the summer, and then I finally decided to pack my bags and my hatchback and my small import vehicle and move to Toronto. I remember going to job interviews in Toronto, and this was before GPS, and I was driving to Mississauga. I was going the opposite way. So there was a lot of challenges in the early days, and but the one thing that kept me grounded was my focus. And I think that was key. It's important that you love what you do and you have a passion for goals in your career. And I know, as a young man, it was my goals were pretty simple. It was to get a job and to cut my teeth in the business, and that was my two primary goals. And I kept it simple. And it's easy to try and think of everything all at once. But try to break it down. At least what I did is try to keep things simple. And maybe because it was simple because I didn't know much, right? So simplicity comes with not knowing things. But what I did have was I had focus, and if you and setting some goals. And when I say goals, I think the goals need to be achievable. Don't set goals that are too hard to reach. Set milestones and goals that are realistic. And if you achieve those goals, then it makes you feel good and it feels like you have a sense of accomplishment. And I look back now, and I didn't have that perspective then, right? But I look back at it now, and that's how I approached it. Simple goals, simple steps, and achieving things one step at a time.
That's amazing. I need to know more about it. I'm sure our audience would like to know more about it as well. There's always a feeling of uncertainty and a doubt about your future. Mainly like when students are transitioning from their colleges to their careers. When you first started out, did you face any uncertainties or did you doubt your decision? And if you did that, how did you navigate those at the early stages of your career?
Yeah, self-doubt is something that I think is a human instinct, to doubt your own abilities or to doubt that you have what it takes. If you have a focus, you also have to have a bit of tenacity as well. And tenacity, I mean not arrogance, but a tenacity to work hard and to do the best that you can, but also have be tenacious too, and go after what your goals are. But also, it's also important not to be arrogant, and to have some humility as well, because humility certainly plays a really important role in who I am, and I think it has helped me throughout my journey, not only in my career but also in my life as well.
You yourself is a brand, like Frank is. Yeah. How do people see you as Frank?
Yeah, I mean, your own personal brand, like that's certainly something that I really didn't think about too much when I began my career. I did, but what I did know was I thought I had a good sense of who I was, and I had a good sense of what my goals were and where I wanted to be. So through that journey, I built up my own personal brand. Some of it has been purposeful, like for instance, the way I talk about myself on my resume or on my LinkedIn page. It's and part of it is what I do and how I act and how I engage with people and clients and businesses.
Can you share some of the tips with our audience on, when you're building your own personal brand, what small steps they can take?
Building your own personal brand is all about taking small steps. Brands, like people, evolve through time, and the attention and what you put into it, you get out of it. So, much like a brand, it builds over time. When I started in the business, there was no such thing as social media. There was no such thing as the channels and the wealth of technology that's available today in order to build that personal brand. It was a phone call, and it was letters, and not courier pigeons, but letters, and it was just making connections and keeping top of mind. Today it's much more. I guess I would describe it as much more complicated, and I understand that because there's so many different types of channels. Social media plays a huge role. I just look at some of the people that I've, had the pleasure of hiring over the years or working with. The first thing you do is you Google their name. You Google their identity. Who are they? Where do they come from? That's usually links you to a social channel. And we all know the pitfalls that could come from those channels. As much as they are, tools that enables your success, they can also hurt you as well. And then there comes all the other things that are purposeful, where you actually engage on LinkedIn, and or as an example, where you could get involved in discussions or panels or even just commenting or sharing things that are meaningful to you. So building your own personal brand is a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and always be mindful that everyone's watching.
That's right. Everybody is watching
Everybody's
all the time on
watching.
social media, right? All right. So you have built a successful career across different industries, right, throughout your journey. What personal experience led you to realize the critical importance of networking and personal branding?
In terms of realizing the importance of personal branding and networking, I didn't realize it at the time, but now I look back and I see the people that have and the organizations that are still with me today, and that really reinforces how networking is so important. And even with the businesses or the opportunities that I have been lucky to find over the years, they've always been, for the most part, they're always been from my network, people who know me, and people who know the work that I do, and that I am forever grateful for.
That's amazing. I'm curious to know more about networking. Sometimes a lot of people, as you know, social media times, right? You have maybe thousands of people connected with you on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok, so many other channels. And sometimes you feel like, yeah, I have a list of people who are connected with me. But then how do you make sure there is a meaningful network? It's not just a number on your social media channel, but it's actually a meaningful network and connection, and you're in touch with them on a regular basis. So when there is a project or when there is a need, then you can approach them without hesitation.
Yeah, that's such a great question. Your followers doesn't necessarily reflect, the quality of your network. Of course, they all play a role in building your own personal brand. My philosophy has been quite simple, and that is I work with people who I respect and people who I genuinely like to work with. Sometimes, and myself included, I have a home-based business, so sometimes I'm kind of isolated.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm working in my home all by myself. But when those times come, I either pick up the phone and I call somebody, or maybe we organize a lunch, or maybe a walk. Maybe there are some professional groups that interest you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in your career either. It could be any kind of group that engages you, that keeps you interested, not only in the career, but with the things that you love to do. So yeah, a network is describe it like almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe that you have this worth, and you believe that you have something to contribute, people will accept that, and people will be drawn to that.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. As you mentioned, your parents moved to Canada in 1952, right? And you're a first generation Canadian whose parents actually were immigrant to Canada. Can you tell us more about how your early life upbringing shaped your career and personal values?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Hardeep. We're all a product of our environment, and being a first generation Canadian, I grew up with the values that were instilled with me by my parents, And I am so grateful for that because, I remember growing up and hearing stories of my father and my mother, talking about their experiences moving to this country. And they were very proud to have the opportunity to start a new life in a new country, especially after at that particular time in our history, there was a lot of immigration coming to this country, and from all different types places, but mainly from Western Europe and England and places like that. And you fast forward now, many decades later, and as much as things change, they always remain the same. We all come from somewhere else. And, my parents always instilled in me a sense of gratitude for having the things and having the opportunities that they've had. And along the way, certainly some challenges as well, not understanding the language. The culture certainly was different then as today. They grouped in their tribes. They grouped they assimilated in their own way into the culture. And growing up, my dad always telling me, the value of being honest and working hard and putting your best foot forward. And those are values that are still ingrained in me today. And regardless of where you're from, people all want the same thing. People all want security. People all want, to be successful. People all want to do well in life. People all want to be loved, right? So those human emotions and those human needs, regardless of who you are, they don't change, right? So that's in terms of the values. Those are some of the things that kind of have stuck with me and continue to kind of influence how I see the world today.
Sometimes in life you experience a lot of rejections and setbacks, right? But maybe it's not a biggest challenge. Biggest challenge is how you overcome and how do you come through those rejections. Could you share if you ever experienced a rejection or couldn't pursue what you wanted to pursue or couldn't accomplish what you truly believed in, and how did you come out of it?
Yeah, that's another great question, Hardeep. Rejection. Nobody likes to be rejected. Unfortunately, I work in a business where creativity, so it's open to a lot of objectivity, and it's open to a lot of at times rejection. I'm just talking about ideas and how I would approach a particular communication problem, whether visually or strategically. Sometimes it doesn't resonate, and I need to accept that. Uh, but what's important is that I understand what my client is looking for, and maybe I missed something, and usually I have. So that's just one small example of rejection when it comes to the work that I do, and I can't count how many times my work has been rejected, but that's okay. And ultimately, the work gets better. Another thing that comes to mind when about rejection or failure, right? Everybody has failed, and that's okay. And I think about early. Hadn't even started a career yet. I was I wanted to be an architect. I loved architecture. To this day, I still love architecture. Um, in fact, one of my clients, for a developer, I work for a developer in Toronto, and so one way, I've still maintained that connection to architecture that I really love. But I digress for a minute. Uh, I really wanted to become an architect, and it was a passion of mine in high school, and so I pursued that. So I moved to, I just finished high school. I think I was around 16 or 17 at the time, and I moved to Hamilton at McMaster University. I wanted to become an architect, and I spent 2 semesters struggling to do that. Not struggling because of my creativity or my vision or my love of architecture. I was never good at math. Never. I'm not a numbers person, And to this day, I still struggle with numbers, but that's okay, right? In order to become an architect, it's almost like you're part engineer and part artist, right? If you're missing the engineer part, well, the building's gonna fall down. You don't want that. So, although at the time I felt like failure because I moved back. I moved back to Sudbury, and I decided that that wasn't for me. Although I still love the idea of architecture, I decided that I would pursue my creativity instead, and I enrolled at Cambridge College actually in 1983.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did 3 years at Cambridge College in a visual arts and communications design course there, which they taught you pretty much everything, and it was up to me to kind of find my way after that. So I'm grateful in one way that the architecture experience didn't work out because I found my true calling and I found what I truly love to do. And I can look back now and look at that experience and say there was a lesson to be learned there. And regardless of what happens, failure, rejection, insecurity, those are all feelings, and they're neither good or bad, right? I think what I've learned is to acknowledge what those feelings are and learn from them. And if you learn from those experiences, then that sets you up for success for the next rejection or failure or anything that is not a bed of roses, as they say.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you understood where your strengths were. So your strengths were creativity, and you consider that strength and use that for your success. That's amazing. So, when you're a student and when you're still learning, or maybe just recently graduating, sometimes you need advice and guidance from somebody who have already done it, who have already gone through it, right? So, when you were going through your challenges to figure out what my strengths are and how do I move ahead from my rejections or my challenges you were facing at that time, did you seek any mentorship? Did you had any mentor who guided you to maneuver through those challenges? And then what advice would you give to our audience on how do they build a mentorship relationship?
Yeah, mentorship is really, really important. I mean, to a certain extent, this format and this discussion is kind of like a mentorship, and I'm lucky enough to and grateful to tell you a little bit about my experience. But in my journey, I had my first mentor was my high school teacher. He took me aside, and it wasn't like I went to him and said, "Mr. Sawchuk, would you like to be my mentor?" It wasn't like that at all. It just happened. Right? I think looking back, I think people gravitate to one another for a reason, right? People connect with people for a reason, and those connections happen organically. So I look at my mentorship with Mr. Sawchuk, my high school teacher. He gave me the opportunities, but most importantly, he gave me confidence. As a young person, one of the key things that have always been given to me was confidence. Whether it be my parents, who were my first mentors, I always went to them for things to do about life, things to do about the softer issues around life.
Yeah.
They were always there for me. Professionally, I had my mentors, and I mentioned Mr. Sawchuk, my drafting teacher, my high school teacher. He always encouraged me because he's seen, I guess, something in me that he's seen in himself, and that's when I mentor other people that I connect with, I see something in myself in them, and that motivates me to help them. So mentorship that I've tried to look for and strive for, sometimes mentorship finds you.
That's amazing, Frank. I think there's a lot to take from your journey, from your experience, and a lot of learnings as well for our audience. Maybe either they're students who are just trying to see how to go through their intakes, their semesters, or recent graduates who are looking for their career growth. To wrap up our discussion, for anybody who's looking to just start their career or starting their new academic program, which will help them to building a strong network and also building the relationships and also personal brand. You have touched on a lot of things, but how would you summarize? Like, what are the key things which they can take out of your experience and adapt, which will lead them to success?
Yeah. Well, I would say three things: work hard, and work hard. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, working hard is really, really important. Nothing comes out of nothing. So you get what you put in, right? You get what out of life what you put in. And same thing goes with your career and whatever your path is. So the first thing is working hard really makes a big difference. And that's where I go back to that word tenacity. Be tenacious. Be tenacious, but be humble as well. Having humility is really, really important, because nobody likes to show off, and nobody likes to people who are the center of attention, right? They at least my experience has been is that you treat people the way you like to be treated, and those are just fundamental life values that I've aspired to, and I like to think that they work in business as well. The next thing that I touched on was having a focus and having some achievable goals. Focus on what the end game is. Focus on where you want to be, but be realistic of where you are today, right? We live in a world of instant gratification where you want everything now. At least I look at it that way. But I think you need to give things time. You need to give things time to grow, much like a tree grows. It doesn't start out with big branches and a big trunk. It starts out as a little seedling, and then it grows into what it is. I mean, it's I don't know if the analogy is right, but building your career is much like that, right? So having achievable goals that you can achieve, will give you the confidence to move forward. If you set your goals too high, then there's room for disappointment there. So be realistic in terms of what your capabilities are and what you want to achieve. The third thing I would say that would be important, at least for me, and I spoke about humility, and that is really, really was important and continues to be important for me. Is be humble and understand where your strengths lie, and also understand where your weaknesses are. And where your weaknesses, if you identify where your weaknesses are, that gives you an opportunity to work on them and to make them better. Just like me with math, as much as I am not great with numbers, I do okay. I'm still able to bill clients for the work, and I'm able to add up the numbers properly. And I have accountants and other people who help me in those areas that I may not be good at. So understand what your limitations are, and but also be tenacious and work hard as well.
Thank you, Frank. Your journey is truly inspiring, and one thing I took out of this this discussion is you get what you put in. You get what you put in, and I think that will stay with me for a very long time. Thank you so much. If you're looking to connect your education with the career pathway, Hanson College is here to help you. Either you're starting a new program, either you're doubtful about getting into new industry, we are here to guide you at every step of your journey. Hanson is here to help you achieve your dreams. Visit our website and explore new programs we're offering and connect with our admissions team today. Thank you all, and best of luck for your journey and for your career path.